I've just come into the Palatine Hill. I'm about to visit a site here that most people never see. Palatine Hill is where we get the word palace from, and that's because in ancient Rome, emperors built their palaces here. Rome's first emperor, Emperor Augustus, also built his home here on the Palatine Hill, and you can visit it if you know how. The House of Augustus and also the house of his wife, House of Livia, right next door, are part of what we call the super sites. The super sites are simply special sites on the Palatine Hill and in the Roman Forum that you can visit if you have the right ticket. And it's really not that complicated. Every ticket you purchase to the Colosseum comes with access to the Roman Forum and Palatine Hill. And every single Colosseum ticket you purchase that is not the standard entry ticket comes with access to these super sites. And even with the standard entry ticket to the Colosseum, if you want to visit the super sites here in this park, you just need to pay €4 for an upgrade, and you can do this on site or online. If you're wondering what the super sites are, I have a dedicated video all about them, so you can check that out if you want to know more. Suffice to say that these are special sites on the Palatine Hill and in the Roman Forum. And because of space constraints and the delicate nature of these sites, they decided not to make it accessible for everyone. And frankly, probably most people don't really know about them or even have the time or energy to visit them. But if you are into ancient Roman history, if you love the Roman Empire, you are going to want to visit at least one of these super sites. Until recently, you couldn't find a tour that included any of the super sites. Because frankly, even a standard tour of the Roman Forum and Palatine Hill can barely scratch the surface of all the sites there are to see there, let alone the super sites. And lately, a lot of you are asking me if I know of any tours that include the super sites. And my stock answer was, if you want a tour of the super sites, you're going to have to hire a private guide. But the great news is that there is now a tour that includes one of the super sites, and I'm on this tour right now, so I'm gonna go catch up with them. All right, they've gone ahead of me and they're at the overlook for what we call Domitian's Hippodrome, even though we're not exactly sure what he used it for. Now, I'm on this tour with Walks of Italy. This is a fairly new tour for them, so it's very exciting that we can visit one of the super sites with an actual guide. Full disclosure, Walks of Italy invited me today, but nobody tells me what to say. So far, I'm really enjoying the tour, but we've only just started, and at the end of the tour, I will give you my honest opinion about what I think of the tour and what you need to know if you want to book it for yourself. So to meet up for the tour, we actually met above the Colosseum on Viale Terme di Tito, which I think was a great place to meet because it's kind of away from the crowd. It was easy to find our guide. And from there, we walked down past the Colosseum, past the Arch of Constantine, and we came to the entrance of the Palatine Hill to start our tour. Now, I love this for this tour because many tours of the Colosseum begin with the Colosseum, and I think a lot of people, by the time they get over here to this park of the Roman Forum and the Palatine Hill, I think they're kind of tired already. We are going to be visiting the Colosseum, but it's at the end of the tour. This tour is focused on the Palatine Hill and the Roman Forum, and specifically the fact that we get to visit a super site. It's my understanding we can't really visit more than one because he still has to give us a bit of a tour of the Roman Forum and the Palatine Hill, the normal things that you would see, but we are going to have an in-depth tour of one of these three things. The House of Augustus, Rome's first emperor, the Domus Tiberiana, one of the largest palaces on the Palatine Hill, or Santa Maria Antiqua, a stunning church from the Middle Ages that was buried in an earthquake, which paradoxically saved it from total destruction. It's my understanding that on today's tour, we are actually visiting the House of Augustus. Now, that site is closed on Mondays, so if you're taking this tour on a Monday, you'll be visiting one of the other two sites. All right, I'm gonna go catch up with the group. So far, I think the tour is great. The guide is doing a wonderful job. He's giving us an overview of the Palatine Hill and some of the sites we're seeing as we walk over towards our first site that we're going to visit, which is the House of Emperor Augustus, Rome's first emperor. You guys, the Palatine Hill is enormous, and even on a normal 2-hour tour, there is just no way to see it all. But I am really excited to see the House of Augustus. Now, I have seen it before, of course, but I think for a lot of visitors, this is something really special. You get to see the house of Rome's first emperor, and it is an amazing sight. Just a bit of semantics. I keep referring to this as the House of Augustus, and in fact, that's how they refer to it here on the Palatine Hill. We can't really call it a palace because it wasn't a palace. When Augustus built this house, he was simply a wealthy young man, and he could afford to build a house on this prime real estate up here. But he wasn't yet emperor. And the house never actually became a palace per se, even though the Palatine Hill is where we get the word palace from, because other emperors subsequently built palaces here. In fact, where I'm standing right now is on one of these very palaces. It's just that it's the ruins of them, so it's kind of hard to see a lot. We're sort of standing on the base of what was once the palace. Once again, I've got to go catch up with the guide, so let's go. So our guide brought us here to explain to us about this crazy floor and why it's warped this way. This was a triclinium, or a dining room, and the reason that it's warped is because underneath there was heating. So it wasn't solid underneath, and over the centuries, due to earthquakes and other such calamities, the floor collapsed. This is truly one of the most important and one of the oldest parts of the Palatine Hill. I'm standing right here next to a cistern that is nearly 3,000 years old. So just in front of me is the house of Livia, Augustus's wife, and behind me is the house of Augustus, which we are about to visit. So I was just stopped by this lovely couple, Ken and Melissa from Massachusetts, and they were so kind to let me know that they enjoy my videos, so shout out to you guys. Have a great visit in Rome. Thanks for watching. I'm here next to the House of Augustus. We're about to visit, and you can see that there is a lot of renovation going on here. Just to the left of me, on the other side of this hill, is a cave that they found that they're calling the Lupercal Cave. Lupercal refers to a wolf because there's the legend of Romulus and Remus, who were twins who were abandoned, and then they were saved and suckled by a she-wolf, and they eventually came to found Rome, or rather Romulus did after he killed his brother Remus. They're not sure that that's the Lupercal Cave, but they are thinking that they say it might be. It's not visitable to the public, it's not open to the public, I'm just telling you the location of it. And right here behind me, above the Lupercal Cave, are the huts of Romulus. Now, as I said, they are currently under some restoration works here, but if you go into the Palatine Museum, you can see a diorama that shows what they would have looked like. And I've got some footage from other visits that I can share with you. So the reason that Octavian Augustus built his house right here was because he wanted to be close to the huts of Romulus. So as I said, you can visit this site if you've got a full experience ticket. You can also visit it if you have the Roman Forum Super Pass. But as I mentioned, even if you have the standard entry Colosseum ticket for only €4, you could upgrade and visit the House of Augustus. And even if that €4 gets you into all of the super sites, frankly, I think it would be worth it to visit the House of Augustus all by itself. All right, I gotta run and catch up with the guide. So that was truly amazing. I always love to visit the House of Augustus, but it's even better when you have an excellent guide. And now he's taking us over to the Palatine Overlook, which is where we can get a sweeping view of the Roman Forum below. All right, so we have finished at the Palatine Hill. We are now making our way down into the Roman Forum.
There are several examples of this because as I said, Rome is still underneath. There's a dome before.
So I'm on this tour today here with Sammy DiBacco. Hey.
Hi.
You should definitely give her a follow. I'm putting her links in the description below, so check her out. Okay, so we finished the tour. It was an excellent tour. I really loved the guide. I think he did a great job. He's actually an art historian, but he definitely knows his history. Full disclosure, not only did Walks invite me on this tour, but they are also a trusted affiliate of mine. This means if you book a tour or activity through any of the links in this video or any of my other videos, I'll earn a small commission at no additional cost to you. And that helps to support my work and this channel. But one of the reasons that I choose to affiliate with Walks of Italy is because they do provide such excellent tours and they have amazing guides. I've literally never had a bad guide with them. I do think that this is an excellent tour, especially if you love ancient Roman history, the Roman Empire. I think it's a special tour. It's not your typical Colosseum, Roman Forum, Palatine Hill tour, which are also great, but this just offers something more. I love that the group size is so small. They say on the website that it's going to be 16 people or fewer. I think we were 9 plus the guide today. And when you have a small group like this, it means that it's easy to talk to the guide and ask questions and even to get to know your fellow travelers. I also really loved starting at the Palatine Hill first because that's when you have the most energy, and I think that's when you want the most energy and attention so you can really enjoy the House of Augustus. The House of Augustus is a site you can visit on your own, and you can probably get an audio guide or you can read up on it, but nothing takes the place of having an expert guide who really brings the place to life while you're in the site. Now, a couple things you should be aware of. So even though we did the Palatine Hill first and then made our way down into the Roman Forum and did the Colosseum at the end, it doesn't mean that the Colosseum tour was any less of a tour. It was about the same length as most Colosseum tours, so we had an hour inside of the Colosseum and 2 hours in the Roman Forum and Palatine Hill. What's different from most of the Colosseum tours that you'll take is that, again, the focus is on the House of Augustus. But I know many of you are interested in taking a tour of the Colosseum that includes the underground or the attico or the arena, and this tour is just a basic tour of the Colosseum. But I can assure you that it's plenty. Now, Walks of Italy does have a different tour, which is called the Gladiator's Gate, which is focused on the Colosseum and where you get to go out onto the arena. That tour includes the Colosseum, the Roman Forum, and the Palatine Hill, but in that tour, the focus is on the Colosseum and the arena floor, and you get a basic tour of the Roman Forum and Palatine Hill without any super sites. But I think the tour of the Colosseum you get with this tour is still excellent. You're visiting with a really knowledgeable guide. You get to walk around both of the rings, the first and second level. And as I've mentioned in another video, the view you get from the second floor is really excellent. It's not quite the attico view, but you can get a really great view from there. And as I've mentioned in other videos, you don't really need to stress so much about trying to visit the underground, although if you want to, you can book a different tour. But really you can see a lot of the underground just by looking down from the main levels. There's one really important aspect of this tour you need to be aware of. Whenever you visit the Roman Forum and the Palatine Hill, you only get one entry. If you leave, you can't go back in on the same ticket. As I said, I think this tour is excellent because I love starting in the Palatine Hill where you've got all your energy and focus, but you do leave the Palatine Hill to go visit the Colosseum, which means you cannot go back in. Now, I do think that you are going to see a lot. You're going to see so much of the Palatine Hill and the Roman Forum that you probably don't need to go back inside. But if you wanted to, you couldn't without purchasing another ticket. There is a ticket that you can buy easily. You can buy it on site. You can buy it same day. It's called the Roman Forum Super Pass. This ticket costs 18 euros. The Colosseum is not included. You can easily get them. They never run out. And you could go back in with this ticket if you wanted to explore this park any further. Another thing to be aware of is that there are quite a few super sites on the Palatine Hill and in the Roman Forum, and this tour only takes you to one of them. There just isn't time to visit more than one super site. But again, I think it's worth it because the visit that you do get is very in-depth, and then I think it would be a lot to try to get another in-depth visit of another super site on the same tour. So, the bottom line is, this is a great tour. Small group, you get to see an amazing site that most people never get to see. It's a full tour of the Roman Forum, Palatine Hill, and the Colosseum, and I think it is definitely worth it. And just be aware that if you want to visit more of the Palatine Hill and the Roman Forum, or you want to see more of the super sites, you're going to have to go back on a new ticket. So what do you guys think? Did you enjoy this tour? Would you take this tour? Drop me a line in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. And if you want to know more about the super sites, don't miss my video right here.